Tonight I'm doing a little bit of a astrophotography assembly, and I think for the first time since I've gotten into astrophotography, I can basically just open this stuff up and start assembling it. Kind of on an impulse decision with this comet, I decided to go ahead and buy a new camera. So this is a dedicated astro camera. This is the ZWO ASI2600MC Pro, and where it says MC, I always think of that MC with the C standing for color. So this is a one-shot color RGB camera. It's the first one I've ever owned. I have previously gone with narrowband, so I have the companion to this. I have the ASI2600MM, and I've always thought of that second M as meaning mono. So I now have both the mono camera, the black and white camera, and now this one-shot color MC Pro as well. I'm going to be mounting this camera to the filter wheel and then putting in a new filter as well. So I've started by looking at the back side of the camera, and I want to make sure that it's upright as I'm putting this together. This is a cap that's over the sensor, so if I were to take this off, you would see the sensor of the camera. I don't want to do that until I've really gotten through all these steps with fine screws and things. And so just by coincidence, I have found that this bubble wrap is really great at containing these screws. I can get at them and they don't roll around everywhere. Already I have taken the filter wheel apart. This is the device I'm about to mount this to the camera with screws, but I've already taken out the carousel. The one filter that I've made with this purchase that I'm going to install, I have not yet installed that. I'm going to do that as well. But this is the carousel where I could do up to 7 filters. And then it's actually sitting on the lid that goes on the other half of this right here that would close it up. So my next step, I'm going to turn on my light here and then point out a few things. On the face of this camera, you can see these 6 holes. I'm going to try to gesture at them. So this one right here, I'm going to end up using 4 of them. These 4 right here that looks kind of like a widescreen movie screen. If you think of drawing lines between them, it's like a widescreen television. It's kind of the way that I think about it. These correspond to the 4 screw holes that are on the inside of this filter wheel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to seat this over the camera where you would see the aperture and the sensor. And then I'm going to place these 4 screws in. So I'm going to be right back after doing that. So here now I'm halfway through with attaching this to the camera. As you can see, the 2 silver screws. I'm going to put the remaining 2 in. There should be one that goes right here, and then another one that'll go in right here as well. So that'll complete the mounting process. So now all 4 of those screws, I've seated those in, screwed those into the faceplate of the camera. And now I can just lift this filter wheel, and it keeps the camera on the back. Now I have the camera is attached to the back of the filter wheel. And so the next thing I'm going to do, if you look very carefully right there in the middle of that wheel, there are 3 tiny holes, and I have already removed the screws in order to take the carousel out. But now I'm going to place the carousel back on there, making sure that the holes in the carousel line up. I'm going to place hole number 1, which is where I'm going to put this filter. I've just had the rubber gasket fall off, so I'll have to fix that. But there are these 3 holes right in the middle of the filter wheel. I will place those on these 3 holes right here. Okay, so I got that rubber gasket replaced around the edges. That's going to be important because this rubber gasket is going to contact up against this little stick that's coming up out of the motor right there once it's placed in, and I need to have that right. So anyway, back to the getting the filter wheel in place. So I've got those 3 holes, I've got these 3 holes, and I'm going to place them on there and get them screwed in. Be right back. So before I began, I took the lid of the camera off. I realized as I was trying to seat the carousel in place, at very least I had to take off the cap before placing it, because once it was on there, I couldn't grasp at the lid. So I've got that seated in the filter slot number 1 just to keep it over the sensor while I'm doing this, and now I have placed these 3 screws through the carousel into the backing of the filter wheel, and it came with this nice little magnetic tipped screwdriver, which is great because I dropped one of them and it's really hard to grasp these teeny tiny little screws. So now I have the filter wheel in place, and then the last thing that I'm going to do, actually next step, is to get the filter in place. So I'm going to remove this little cap, and I'll just go ahead and do that now so that you can momentarily see the sensor. So there's the sensor of the camera. I want to keep that covered because I don't want to let dust accumulate on top of that. So now I'm going to take this filter that I've gotten and I'm going to go ahead and install that into filter slot number 1. So I'm installing this filter, and I just wanted to take a moment and record a little bit of this. Each of these filter slots are threaded, and the filter that I got came mounted, so it has this ring around it, and then there are threads on the ring as well. So I can actually just spin this into place, and eventually it will stop. Now I can tighten it up, just kind of finger tighten it, and this has been installed. This is the because this is an RGB camera, it's broadband, so it's going to accept any kind of wavelength of light. So I got this Optolong L-Quad Enhance filter. It's a 2-inch filter fitting into a 2-inch filter wheel, and this filters out 4 very specific wavelengths of light that are associated with lots of light pollution, so street lights, things like that. Mercury vapor, I think they're called mercury vapor street lights. It filters out that wavelength, so it's really about eliminating as much light pollution as possible before I turn on that camera. So now I'm going to just do a quick little check, maybe do some canned air on this filter just to make sure there's no dust on it, and then I'm going to get this thing sealed up. So where we have mounted this filter wheel onto the camera, I've got the filter in place on the filter wheel, and I've replaced the filter wheel. Now I just need to put this backing back on, and you'll see that there are evenly spaced screw holes here around the edge, the little silver dots. You'll see that there are corresponding holes on this plate. So once I put that in place, I'll put those little screws in, go all the way around, and make sure that it's nice and tight. So I've covered the hole on the telescope side just with the filter box, just to keep that covered while I'm doing these screws, because these are tiny little bits of metal and it's easy to lose grasp on them, and they can go rolling off into that hole and then directly onto the filter. So I don't want to do that. Don't want to get it scratched. I just made an impromptu decision to attach my CAA, or camera angle adjuster, to my filter wheel before placing it onto the telescope. And in order to do that, the opening for the filter wheel is larger than this these threads on the CAA. So I'm using this adapter that came with the filter wheel, which steps down the filter wheel to the same, or to the size that this CAA is. So this broader piece will go in the hole that this little box is covering. So I'm going to thread this on first, and then I'm going to pop that onto the filter wheel. So just like the inside of this adapter is threaded, so it would thread onto the CAA, the outside edge is also threaded, and that's what's going to enable it to fit into this covered hole on the filter wheel. This is the correct thickness for it to go into the threads on the filter wheel, so that all of this matches up and gives us the appropriate distance between the back end of the telescope all the way to the sensor. It has to be the correct back focus, and so that's ensuring that all of this is the case. So I got the threads, got this started threaded into the filter wheel, and then I went ahead and covered up the hole again, just to keep dust from getting in there while I'm doing this process. And I'm just basically rotating the CAA until it's firmly in place against the filter wheel. So I took the CAA back off for a second because I realized I forgot to put, I like to put gaffer's tape over the remaining mount holes that I'm not using, and that just reduces the possibility for light leak. I really want this to be a closed system as much as possible. I've threaded the CAA back on, and I've placed some gaffer's tape just over the opening just to keep dust from getting down in there for the time being until I get it mounted to the telescope. And so just to review, on one side of the filter wheel I have screwed on the camera, and then I have the CAA on the other side. So this is going to mount to the telescope this way, and then the CAA has the ability to rotate the filter wheel and the camera behind it to be able to adjust the angle of the camera, and that's mainly for composition purposes to make sure that what I'm imaging fits in the frame of the camera well. Here is my telescope. It is the SkyWatcher Esprit 100 ED. And where I'm going to be working tonight is right back here. So this is the focus draw tube, and then these two rings right here. It's the manual version of the CAA, and what I want to do, this is built into the draw tube, and so what I'm going to do from here back is the camera assembly. So there's a spacer here. This is the mount that accepts the spacer. Here's the filter wheel that I have presently on there, and then my monochrome camera is back here. So starting right here, I'm going to remove this. There's also a reducer that's inside, that's mounted to the inside of this ring, that's inside the draw tube. And I'm going to be taking that all out, placing on the original field flattener, and then attaching this assembly that I've been putting together in this video. So that'll be going on the back. So there's the back of the draw tube, and here is the reducer that was up inside, and then the adapter that holds that on. So now that that's basically the back end of the telescope. Look up in there, you start to see the optics. On there is an adapter that I have to screw on that looks a lot like this. It just steps down the opening. Like that. And then something I keep forgetting about that I have to add back is this reducer, or sorry, a field flattener. This is especially made for this particular telescope, so I'm going to take off the screen cap and place that on. So now our field flattener is on, and you can even maybe see some of the optics in there. There's a little piece of glass that you'll see. So now I've begun, you can see, here's the adapter I put on. This is the field flattener, and now there's this gap right here between the CAA and the field flattener, and that's because I've just begun threading it on. And if I continue to spin this entire assembly, it's going to get tighter and tighter on there, until eventually it's now screwed on. So it's nice and flush. If I keep torquing it, that motion that you see right there is actually the CAA rotating. So that's on nice and firm. So there I have it. There's the telescope with the new assembly, starting with the CAA right here onto the back. So it's the evening of October 23rd. The sun has just set over here in the west, and I'm now looking northwest, and I have my telescope set up here in the parking lot of your DeKalb Farmers Market, which offers this really nice flat view. And I've already done a calibration and alignment with the telescope, and the comet popped up in the preview image. So I'm really looking forward to imaging this night and this object. So hopefully it comes out well.